We all know that Night City is the main setting for Cyberpunk 2077. That is where most of the story will belong, but we don't know how Night City came to be. We know that the world of Cyberpunk is the same as our world, except in the 1980s a few events took place which completely altered the course. That would then lead to 2077, which is where the events of Cyberpunk take place. I have already done a video of the full timeline of how Cyberpunk's world came to be what it is in 2077. There is a link to that in the description down below, as well as there'll be a card on screen right now which will take you to that video. But somewhere in the mess of all that, Night City was just an idea, and then it grew to actually become a city. When Cyberpunk does finally drop in November, we will be going in on this game with daily uploads, and on top of that there will be daily streams. If you want to see those streams, there is a link in the description down below which will take you over to the Twitch channel. Head over to there, drop a follow, and you'll be notified the next time I go live. So Night City is located on the west coast United States in Del Coronado Bay, and is considered to be part of the Free State of Northern California, but that wasn't always the case. Night City was the brainchild of a businessman called Richard Knight, who became dissatisfied with his experiences in managing corporate construction projects as part of his company Halsey, Ferris and Knight. This led him to break off and form his own company called Knight International, with the end goal of creating the ideal city. The city wasn't actually planned to be called Night City. You would think with the brainchild being called Richard Knight and him creating Knight International that he would have just called the city Night City, but no, at the beginning it was actually called Coronado City, and Richard Knight envisioned this as a utopia in which cities across the country could look up to as the gold standard. After the collapse in America, many megacorps also looked at creating such a space, in which crime and poverty were non-existent. By 1992, megacorps such as Arasaka, IBM and Petrolchem had all heavily invested in Coronado City. Knight, being a successful businessman at the time, also purchased many of the rights as well as large amounts of land surrounding Del Coronado. This was just to secure land for the new city. By 1993, construction for the city was well underway. The existing residents of Del Coronado had been relocated to a new area known as Old Downtown and the central hub of the city, whereas the new corporations that would be based within the city would be at the new downtown area. After the construction for Coronado City was underway, Knight International employed a large number of innovative building styles and techniques. This resulted in the exclusion of many old boy companies, including that of his old company, which is now named Halsey, Ferris and Skiv. During the first 4 years of the construction, there were daily threats against Knight's life. Knight, being a very confident and proud businessman, dismissed the threats as easily as they came. When the threats escalated to the level of sabotage and intimidation, he made a few calls to his corporate allies, who had experience in dealing with such things. However, despite his influence and his allies promising to deal with it, Knight's luck finally ran out. On September 20th, 1998, Knight was found dead in his penthouse suite at the top of the newly constructed Parkview Tower. Detectives found his body with a bullet wound. He was killed instantly, and Knight's killer was never found. To honor Richard Knight's memory, the newly appointed city council officially renamed Coronado City to Night City, and that is where the name came from. The next 7 years were chaotic as gangs and corporations battled for power over the city. The corporations controlled the civic government and the corporate center, and the mob controlled almost all service-related businesses. By 2005, the mob had become the king of the hill. The corporations had little or no interest in running the city at this point, and the civic leaders were unable to lead without corporate masters to pull the strings and provide the muscle. The next 4 years after this were known as the dark ages of Night City, with more murders in that 4-year span than there was in most cities for 10 years. The mob ruled the city with an iron fist, killing anything that got in its way. You can see the idea of what Richard Knight originally had is just not playing out. Remember, he wanted to create an ideal city, creating such a space in which crime and poverty were non-existent. And by 2009, it has already escalated to have more murders in this city within 4 years than most cities in 10. Night City became the closest thing to hell on earth. It was a complete war zone. The period period between 2009 and 2011 was known as the Mob Wars. Night City had grown to be incredibly violent, with murders and gang activity at an all-time high, and as time went on it progressively got higher and higher, until it came to the end at 2011 when heavily armoured Arasaka paramilitaries took to the streets in a show of force. This completely overwhelmed the mob forces and leaving them effectively defeated. Corporations are now in control of Night City. By 2020, Night City had a rapidly growing urban region, still rife with urban violence and street crime, but with strong economic growth in the corporate sector. It was the quintessential city of the future, gritty, dangerous, but possessed with an urban slick and stylish core that made it unique. And then in 2021, things became a bit more difficult in Night City, because this is when the fourth corporate war begun, and Night City was the home to units on both sides of the corporate war, making Night City yet again another war zone. The fourth corporate war involved two aquacorps, Sino and OTEC. These aquacorps later hired Arasaka and Millitech to fight in this war, both of which were a massive part of Night City. Remember, Arasaka was one of the first companies to invest within Coronado City when it was called Coronado City. Governments also didn't want to get involved within this war because at this point Night City was a free city and not tied with any US governments. And the biggest event to happen within this fourth corporate war was also the thing that absolutely destroyed the city. In Night City you have the twin Arasaka towers, which were 140 floors tall, making them among the tallest buildings in existence at the time. As mentioned, this war was happening between Arasaka and Millitech, and Arasaka was completely dominating. In the last final months of the war, Millitech's team didn't really care about the loss of life, as they already had written off the city as a loss to Arasaka months earlier. And with both of these ideas in mind, they decided the best course of action was to use a pocket nuke to level the entire structure. The nuke was designed to utterly demolish the master database, to make it unusable. It said that the nuke was detonated on floor 120 of the Arasaka towers, and this resulted in completely destroying the towers, but also destroyed the nearby surrounding area, and also made Night City completely inhabitable for 24 hours of the detonation due to radiation levels. Many of the people in Night City were unaffected with the radiation due to them having radiation filters installed in their bodies. However, the nuke and its aftermath did destroy a large part of Night City, forcing people to move out to the suburbs or areas even further out from the city center. The President of the United States at the time, President Kress, didn't want to get involved at the time, but was very quick to point the finger at Arasaka for the destruction of Night City, even though it was Millitech that used the nuclear device. Kress painted a picture of Arasaka as an evil foreign megacorp run by a madman who wanted to destroy an American city in a pursuit for power. From this point, Arasaka was no longer allowed to operate in the United States. Their access was immediately revoked, and its members and board were declared as terrorists, and its assets either seized or driven offshores. But despite the president's input to point the finger at Arasaka, President Kress showed little or no interest in helping Night City recover. She wrote off the city as unrecoverable and offered sanctuary in a new United States to the surviving refugees. Those that survived the explosion in Night City were not looking to rebuild the city either. Their priority was to look for food, clean water and shelter. By the 2040s in Night City, roughly 2 million people in the greater Night City region were left homeless due to the bomb. But this was also when Night City's rebuild started to happen. Recovery was led by one of the nomad gangs called the Aldecados. If you want more information about this gang or any game within the Cyberpunk universe, then there is a link in the description down below, as well as there'll be a card on screen which will take you directly to a gang video that I have done previously on this channel. But the Aldecado clan joined up with Stormtech Corporation to rebuild the city. Together they created temporary housing which was from shipping containers. And as time went on, the city was rebuilt. Was it as good as what it was previous to this? but the city was in a better position at this point than what it was directly after the bomb. In 2069, the new United States President Rosalind Myers started to bring the free states to heel by federalizing them under the pretense of strengthening the nation. Another war then began between the new United States and the free states. Night City barely managed to avoid conflict, as there were troops on the outskirts of Night City, but then City Councilman Lucius Rhine had used his decade-long list of contacts to beg the long-shunned Arasaka to protect them. Days later, an Arasaka supercarrier appeared in Coronado Bay, and hours later the new United States retreated. Due to this, the Treaty of Unification was signed, because President Myers feared the increased presence of Arasaka could escalate the war. The treaty stated Night City as an international independent city-state free of the government and Southern California in new USA. However, the new freedom allowed further increase of the megacorporations. The city allowed Arasaka to build their new American headquarters downtown, of where the old one was destroyed in 2023. The city felt prosperity again, but it was not enjoyed by all. By 2027, which is also where the time starts for Cyberpunk 2077, and we'll have to see how the events carry on from there, but at 2077, Arasaka has now taken Night City and fully controls it, and guards the city's borders. This is Night City's timeline, from the moment it was first even imagined to the point of which it is within Cyberpunk 2077. In that time, it has gone through a lot, a number of different wars which have nearly destroyed the whole city and everyone that belonged to it, but somehow managed to hold on and eventually get rebuilt. Night City is now part of the free state of Northern California, and is completely controlled by mega corporations. But anyway, that is the evolution of Night City. If you do want to see any more content from me, as said at the beginning, when this game does finally drop, we will be streaming it daily, as well as you will also be getting daily content here. So make sure that you head over to Twitch, drop a follow, and you'll be notified the next time I go live on that, as well as also make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going. So see ya.